How's it going, everyone? I'm Solar Wolf, and today I've got this little plane, and we're gonna make him a nice little diorama of him flying through the sky. It'll be a wall hanging style, so I hope you guys are ready for that, and we will be on with that in just a moment. Alright, so as you can see, I've got here a nice little piece of XPS foam. It's got a little bit of some hangles on there from where I was cutting it. I did not use a hot wire cutter, so it's got some scraggly ends. I'm not too worried about it. But we're going to go ahead and give this a nice coating of Mod Podge and sky blue paint. So I'm going to take my painter's palette. I'm going to take a little bit of some blue and a little bit of some white. This is some Lawful White. It's Army Painters Game Masters brand. I really like this brand because you don't need a whole heck of a lot for it. Just going to shake it up like it's going out of style. Oops. Calmness. Okay. So we're just going to add a little bit of this Lawful White. And we're going to take some of this Force Field Blue. Again, it's a Game Masters setup. I'm going to give it a good shake, just because you want to make certain that you got your paints mixed. I'm going to add a little bit of the blue paint, and then we'll add our Mod Podge. So we're going to add a little bit of our Mod Podge, just a little bit, because we need the Mod Podge to help seal the foam. And we're just going to go ahead and mix it together real fast, get it nice and lighter blue, because the Force Field Blue is already a light blue, but it's still rather dark for the purposes we needed, so the white paint and the Mod Podge helps to really lighten it up. And the Mod Podge, again, will help to seal the foam. We're just going to get this mixed up nicely, and then we will start painting the back. So we're going to go ahead and get the diorama base painted while I sit here and, bump into the camera 1,000 times and make the camera shake and, look like an idiot doing it. And we're just going to get this spread out and gently smooth at first, and then we will get it evened all the way out. Once we get to the end of it, you can see how it's got a bit of spotting there that we're going to have to fix. Unfortunately, I did have to put my fingers down onto it, which left a dirty glue spot. I covered that up, and that ends up being where the cloud cover is anyways, so it wasn't that big of a deal. You can see here how I'm just kind of trying to get out all of the paint evened out, so it's not going to have, a lot of the just white patching, which you tend to get at first. This is why layers are important. So that's a thing. But we're just going to get it nice and smoothed out, looking clean. Give it a nice smooth texture, because we want it to look as smooth as possible. And this is going to look really good. Alright, and then as we get done with this, we're going to have to set this aside to let it dry. But we already know how that goes, and Mod Podge does take about 45 minutes to an hour to fully dry sometimes. Sometimes a little bit longer depending on the amount of acrylic that's mixed with it. Alright. Now that that's dried, we're going to go ahead and start making some cloud painting. We're going to paint some clouds on there. Jeez. Gosh, you guys, sometimes I can't talk. Anyhow, so we're just gonna take some of this. This is a white dungeon effects. So it's going to be a little bit lighter than like a standard white would be. It goes on rather uniquely as well. So we're just going to get this nice and dry brushed on. We're just going to kind of stipple these around a little bit to make some nice clouds. And then we're just going to stipple these around a bit, because we want to make these look like some nice little clouds. I would have said happy little clouds, but I'm not Bob Ross. Yeah, I made that joke. What? Anyhow, we're going to go ahead and continue to stipple these on until we get, just a good amount of, light cloud cover. We'll be using cotton balls to make clouds, so they'll be covering up a good portion of this. It's not that big of a deal. It won't look right without the small poofy cloud cover in the background. And so we want to make it look as realistic as we can. It is, of course, a diorama, so you can only get so realistic, but we want it to look as good as possible, guys. Alright, now that we've got the cloud cover stippled on, you can see the small amount of clouds we've got there. That's also how I was marking out where I want the plane to be and things like that. And so we're going to set him up right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take some styrene rod. And we just need to trim it down a bit. So what we're first going to do is we're going to trim off this nice tapered edge. Unfortunately, when you use God hand nippers or any other nippers, it'll leave a tapered end on one side, and so you will have to remove the tapering from it, unless you're of course planning on using it tapered, in which case don't bother clipping off the tapering, I guess. But we're just going to clip these down to a decent size, and then we're going to clip a nice angle onto these, because the way that the plane is going to be sitting, I want it to be at a slight angle. And so we clip those so that they've got a flat side on one side and then an angled side or an angle flat on the other. And you'll note these are two different sizes due to the angle of the plane. I had some issues with this styrene rod piece. It didn't want to deburr, which can happen. It's a thing. So I ended up taking the nippers and just kind of clipping the burring away as best as I could. I mean, sometimes you just can't get it all. Alright, and so now that we've got one done, we're going to go ahead and flip the plane over, because we're going to want it to be sitting on an off standing like that. And then it's going to be kind of coming out of the cloud cover, and so we want it to have the stand set with the right angle cut, so that when they sit flat on the board, they hold the plane at the angle that we want. I did have a heck of a time with this project, I'm not gonna lie. During the cotton portion, there were some glue incidents, which I will talk about when we get to that point. But I went and clipped down both pieces. I did eventually move the project out from underneath where I was super gluing, because I didn't want to continuously spray it with the accelerator, as that would have been rather detrimental to what I'm currently doing. And there was also the risk of, if the super glue is thin, which I prefer a real thin super glue, it tends to stick the plane to the project upside down if you do that, because of the runniness of the super glue. Alright, so now that we have our standoff set, and we've got kind of our concept of how we want the plane to sit, we're going to put a bit of super glue on each of the standoffs. And then I'm going to spray some accelerator onto the board directly. And then we're just going to set it up and get it stuck into place. I did have to add some additional super glue to the standoffs to get them to hold a little bit more solid. And you can see it did take me holding it just a little bit. You can see my goatee and hair sticking into the frame there. Oh my goodness. You could almost see that I got a pointy goatee. But that's alright, because I like my goatee. I like my facial hair. Anyhow, so I did add the additional super glue like I said I was going to have to. This is to add strength to the standoffs so that it's not going to have the potential risk of breaking. This project I also currently have hanging over my PC. It's right over my recording studio. It sits on the wall there, so it is something I was very happy to display. And this little guy just looks like he's having a lot of fun already, don't he? Alright, so now that we've gotten the plane placed, we're going to start working with the cotton balls. And these are just standard cotton balls you can get in any drugstore, any grocery store. You can even find these in convenience stores. So these are just standard cotton balls you can get anywhere. You'll have to unravel these. For cloud cover, you want to unravel them as best you can and pull them apart to make them look poofy and fluffy. And this took, I believe, 5 total cotton balls. So you'll just see me kind of tearing this one apart, and then the other ones will just kind of cut to getting them glued into place and whatever. But now that we've got that one pulled apart, we're going to go ahead and get it glued. And I just put a few drops down. It looks like I run a whole line of it down, but I don't. I actually put only a few drops here and there along that linear pattern. That way I'm not, one, wasting the super glue, because you will waste super glue if you go to lay lines of it down, unless the project requires it. And so it took a few. We get this one pulled apart, and then we're going to get it glued. And as you can see, 4 small drops onto the project, not a huge line of super glue. Again, you don't want to waste your super glue, and that would absolutely just be a waste of super glue. Especially in the case of clouds and being made of cotton, you don't have to worry about it too much. Now, this is about where I start super gluing myself to my cotton, and my cotton to my pants, and my hands to my pants. Unfortunately, because of the way super glue is and the way cotton is, cotton will suck that stuff right on up and then glue itself to you. This is a common problem with cotton and super glue. This is why I tend to lay the super glue down first, and this way I can lay the cotton onto it and allow it to do its job that way without getting my fingers stuck too often. Fortunately, I got most of it done without super gluing myself to the project, which is for me a very good thing, because normally I'm not so lucky. Anyhow, we just want to get the rest of these down. I did have to spread them out just a little bit. And I could have left it like this and it still would have looked very, very good. But I decided he needed more clouding around him, so I grabbed a few more cotton balls and we placed them around it. And I was just really, really happy that I could do this one for you guys. This is such a nice, simple project. I think it took me an hour altogether to make. You know, and that's not including the paint time for the plane. It was already pre-painted. I had painted it just for, you know, laughs and giggles. And, you know, I happen to like having a P-51 Mustang around, and so making it a diorama was just, you know, just the bee's knees. But once we get everything put into place, we get the cotton finally laid down, and, you know, it came out beautifully. And so we're going to move on to some nice glamour shots as I knock my super glue over. getting everything kind of cleaned up. We're going to use a little bit more of that Dungeon Effects white to kind of fill in the area around where it just looks too blue and there doesn't seem to be enough, you know, background clouding. And so we're just going to kind of come in and get some background clouding done real fast. We're just going to stipple it around a bit and make certain that we get enough cover of it, because, you know, a sky with cloud cover as thick as what the plane is flying through would definitely have some wispy cloud cover in other areas on it as well. And so we want to make certain that we get those painted into place to make it look more natural, like the sky itself is, you know, active and alive. Because, you know, one cloud in the middle of a blue sky is real rare. Anyhow, guys and gals, that is our little wall hanging diorama. I hope this has helped you guys to learn a bit and to be a bit more creative. We hope to see your creativity in the next amazing video. And please remember to subscribe and smash that like. And as always, guys, I love your faces. Bye!